Welcome to Beyond the Closing Table with Setco Services. In this podcast, we delve into the world of real estate and explore what happens beyond the closing table. Join us for insightful discussions and expert interviews that will change the way you see real estate transactions. Welcome to Beyond the Closing Table, sponsored by Setco Services. I'm George Brandon Jr. Today we have Captain Gary Jarvis. Gary, how are you?
Doing good.
Good to have you here, buddy. I've known Mr. Jarvis for 30 plus years at least. So I am excited about hearing about this. You know, one of the cool things I love about doing this, Gary, is like I've literally had a buddy I've known 25 years on last week. Learned things about him here that were funny as all get out. And, you know, it's just cool stories come up. That's what people like to hear. You know, you're somewhat of a legend in the Destin area, you know,
we're definitely a legend in my own mind.
Yeah. Well, you said that, not me, dude. I think your beautiful wife would agree in your own mind. All right, Gary, let's find out where you came from. How'd you get here? Where'd you grow up?
I was the traditional Air Force brat. I was born at George Air Force Base in Victorville, California.
What's it called? Georgia Air Force?
George
good,
Air Force
Good
Base.
Solid name there.
In Victorville, California. So that's my birthplace.
Okay.
Spent a few years in Biloxi, Mississippi when my dad was going through electronics training. He was in the military, Army, then Air Force, and ended up retiring for the Air Force. And then from there, I think we went to upstate New York, which is where my mother and my father both were from upstate New York. My mom was from Saranac Lake, and my dad was from Glen Falls.
How old are you at this point?
5.
So you went from California to Biloxi to New York by the time you were 5.
Yes.
A little diversity there.
Well, I think I almost went to 12 different schools in 12 years.
Really?
Yeah, we moved around a lot. My dad was in communications, so we went to a lot of different places. Ended up in Dayton, Ohio. My dad got injured when he was in Vietnam and got sick. Believe it or not, he got trench mouth, and they thought he was going to starve to death because they weren't real good at intravenous feeding back in the early 60s.
How do you get trench mouth? I mean, it's
just jungle stuff.
Okay.
They got all,
chew on the wrong leaf or something. I mean,
I don't know.
That was a legitimate question. I don't know.
No, it is because he was in communications. They moved around a lot. I mean, he was in the Philippines and then Australia and then New Guinea I can't even remember the other.
I feel like communications can mean a lot of things in the military.
Yeah, well, he was a radio repairman in simpler terms.
Okay.
Those were all remote tours. Went to Spain, and we pretty much hung out. I started first grade through third grade right there in Saranac Lake. And that's where I learned how to play ice hockey, which is a whole nother era.
So you started playing hockey when you were in Ohio?
No,
in New York,
upstate New York.
Okay, you started like at 5 years old.
Oh, I started skating when I was double runners. When I was 2, I could barely walk.
Okay,
so but that's what you did in the wintertime up there, you know. And then when my dad got hurt in '65, they moved him to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It was a regional hospital, so people that got hurt or sick overseas, that's one of the places they sent you, and that's where we ended up staying. Now we moved around a lot, even there. I went to school. Fort McKinley Elementary, and then I went to Catholic school, got kicked out of there, and they sent me back to public school.
Whoa, you can't breeze over things like that. Why'd you get kicked out of school?
As you well know, in the 30 years you've known me, I'm very alpha dog independent kind of dude. And
what'd you do, Gary? Come on, you know what I'm telling yourself?
I was just a rebellious sort of little fella.
Okay,
in fact, they usually
those old Catholic nuns weren't putting up with your ass.
No, I got my licks, plenty of them. Usually they send kids to Catholic school to straighten them up. They sent me.
They kicked you out.
They kicked me out.
That's pretty good. Okay, fair enough. What else did you play? Like, all right, how old are you in this kind of era?
Middle school,
Okay.
What they call middle school now. And then we finally ended up, my dad retired and went to work for GM. We finally ended up in Brookville, Ohio, where I met my lovely wife in high school.
Okay.
Now, this whole time, I played every sport under the sun all through high school too. You know, I played football and wrestled and ice hockey and that kind of stuff. So I was really athletic, outdoors oriented. And then when I graduated from high school in 74, the economy sucked. And so I just kind of followed my father's footsteps, went to the Air Force, spent a year in Denver, Colorado, basically in electronics training, and then got stationed here at Eglin in 75. And for an outdoorsy sports guy, this was Mecca.
Yeah.
So
so you moved here,
left.
You moved to what, like Fort Walton, that area in 1975. Yeah. What were you doing in the military?
I was a missile electronics technician.
You know how to fire missiles?
Well, I don't fire them. We just worked on them.
Scary.
So they had us out in the bomb dump in case we blew something up. You know,
okay.
Reduce the casualty rate. But while I was there at Eglin, you know, I loved to hunt fish. So I started fishing on the piers, and I met a couple charter boat deckhands. And so on weekends, I'd go fishing with them as a second mate. You know, they paid me like $20 or something for an all-day trip, and I'd clean the boat. And then that kind of progressed, and I got on nights because I really liked fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. So then I would fish all day as a second mate, changed into my uniform driving up Eglin Parkway, dry shave, second mate.
Oh, sounds horrible.
And then
did you like what you were doing at Eglin?
Yeah.
You did?
What I didn't like, though, was having people that weren't as smart as me being my boss just because they've been in grade longer.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
that
continued story in the military.
Alpha dog spirit, even though when I was in the military, I did everything right. I was a dorm chief. I was 17 years old in basic training. They made me the dorm chief over 35 guys. I had 26-year-olds asking me how to fold their underwear and stuff at 17.
I see you being good in the military.
And then I was a below the zone promotion. I made staff sergeant under 4 years, which in that era was pretty remarkable. In fact, when I decided not to cross train and to get out because I wanted to fish for a living, my commander was on leave, so I got my mobility captain to sign off for me to not go to cross training to flight simulator school in Illinois. And when commander got back, I was already out processing. He was really mad. He wanted to give me an Article 15 for being sneaky. Get out of the service.
Was that a compliment to you because you're doing a good job, though?
Yeah.
Were you going to go to? You said you're going to go to flight school.
Flight simulator school. It's still an electronics career field, but it was a lot cooler.
Yeah. Was Eglin a test wing then?
Mm-hmm.
So were you like? Working on test missiles and stuff, or
sure was the very first GBUs. You know, these laser guided bombs and stuff. My shop was part of that development program. The AIM-9L Sidewinders, which they still use today. I was part of that test program.
That's kind of cool.
It was cool.
You were working in like a bomb shelter is not the right word, but a secure room in case you blew yourself up.
Yeah, we were in the bomb dump.
Okay, the bomb dump is what you call it? Okay.
That's where the BB stackers, the guys that armed bombs and moved them around, and all that, put them on loaders, put them on aircraft. They stuck us out in with them because we were working with, rockets and warheads and stuff.
All right. So how long did you stay in? 4 years?
4 years, honorable discharge. I never left on leave because I was hunting and fishing. So I had all this leave build up. So I took terminal leave in March of my final year in the Air Force, and I out-processed the 22nd of June, and that whole time I was working full-time on charter boats. So when I went to out-process July 22nd, I had to shave my beard and my hair, and I tried tucking it under my hat, and that wasn't going to fly because I hadn't been on base in 3 months. I was still.
You had so much leave built up?
Yeah, I was still an airman.
Okay.
Technically. But I was.
You had checked out by then?
Yeah, I was fishing full time on the Anastasia Wayne Frank Davis said.
Okay. So you're a full-time fisherman now, and you're working for somebody, right?
Yes.
At this point?
At that point, yeah. I started out as the second mate, which is what's part of paying your dues, and I'd already been doing that for 2.5 years. And when I was a deckhand in '78, there was only 35 charter boats in Destin. Now there's over 200.
Yeah.
And so unless somebody became a captain and started running a boat, got killed or got fired, there was no openings. And so I was down there.
Sounds incestuous.
It was. And so I'm down there one morning, second mating with now Captain Tommy Green. And one guy didn't show up. And captain came down and asked me if I wanted to.
You got promoted?
I went from second mate to first mate in the blink of an eye, and the rest is history.
Now, you said you was Frank who?
William Frank Davis, who passed away this past year.
Was that that's not the dock guy, is it?
That's his son, Frank.
Oh, really?
Frank Jr.
The one Pam calls Blue Eyes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Make sure I get my stories right here. All right. So you got promoted. What was your draw to fishing?
Man, when I was like 5 and 6 years old, we in Saranac Lake is Saranac Lake. It's a lake flower. I mean, there's lakes and ponds and stuff. And I used to steal tackle out of my dad's tackle box and hide it because we walked to school. And I'd stop on the way back from school and get fishing. I'd forget about what time it was. And then all of a sudden, my dad would drive up and it's 5 o'clock. And I was supposed to be home at 2. And I'd just get my butt kicked all the way back to the house because mom was worried and about being disobedient. So I took many a butt kicking for loving to fish.
Yeah.
So it started
when you were
long before I made it to the Gulf of Mexico. So when I got here, man, I was, like I said, this was nirvana.
Well, I feel like it's something you have to. I mean, there's plenty of people that have hobbies like fishing, but for what I've been with you guys, it's not easy work. I mean, it can be a lot of hurry up and wait.
Well,
but
smart like you, I'd be a millionaire like you. But instead, I chose a blue collar form of employment.
No, that's not what I meant.
Only thing
there's got to be a passion to it.
Well, of course,
to go out there and do that. I mean, it's every mate I've ever been with on a charter or, just privately, they've got a passion that's hard to describe. And that's really where I wanted to trying to go is it can be rewarding once you work your way up to a certain level. But if you're starting as a second mate on a boat, you're kind of, you're the private, you're the dog, right? And it's not easy work.
It's a life passion. It's just what I was explaining is that mine started long before I ever had a clue I was going to end up here and end up being a professional fisherman. All my friends in high school, we just had our 50th high school reunion and they're like, "Are you still fishing?" And I said, "Yes, I'm failing at retirement." It is definitely a passion. It's a blue collar form of a living. And if you don't have the passion, you're not going to survive doing a fishing for a job.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of mates, guys that work for me that are now some of the best captains in the Gulf of Mexico and other parts of the world. But I had a whole bunch of them that came and thought they liked to fish and thought it was a great job. And don't get me wrong, these mates, it's blue collar, but they still make up to 6 figures in his deckhands. So it's a well-paying job, but the work is brutal. The hours brutal. I'm getting skin cancer cut off me right and left because I'm paying the price when I was a young man on the back deck of boats.
Well, hopefully people are a little more smart about it these days.
Well, we didn't even have sunblock.
Oh, I know. I've seen them old pictures, old Destin pictures of those guys. They're just like white T-shirts and don't have hats on. No. Most of them don't have shirts on.
In August, I'd wear a Mama San hat because it was the worst, But it definitely was a passion that I had, and being an alpha dog type personality carried over. So I didn't want to just fish for a living. I wanted to be the best fisherman that ever stepped on the face of the earth, which over time I figured out is totally impossible. You can't be the very best, like you might be the very best wrestler or the very best hockey team or something like that. But you can only be one of the best, because every time you start getting too full of yourself, Mother Nature has a real nasty habit of humbling you really fast.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe a little bit of luck involved sometimes.
Well, my opinion on luck is where opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah, but
I preach that 100,000 times to my mates.
I know that, but you guys, the fishing bunch, they're some of the most superstitious folks out there with their flags and what they do at a time.
Oh yeah. Don't bring a banana on my boat.
I've learned that. I didn't know that until a few years ago.
Yeah.
Not from you. Well, yeah. Anyway,
I took it one step further. You couldn't have watermelon either because we almost sunk one day when the guy brought a watermelon on our boat.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. The shaft rudder barrel slid up the shaft going into the thing. By the time we noticed a slick calm, so my captain would start to make a turn and the boat listed way over and it didn't correct itself. So he goes, go down there and open that hatch. And I opened that hatch and water was already about 3 feet deep in the engine room. So I'm trying to be.
Were you the captain at this point?
No, I was a deckhand. So inside I'm going, oh my God. But outside I just closed the hatch nice and calm, because the people were all sitting there looking at me and I just kind of slowly went up the ladder. Now, when I got up there to the captain, I said, we're going down.
That's awesome.
But we saved the boat and didn't sink and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's never a dull moment being in doing things with Mother Nature and out on the Gulf. So every morning was a different morning. It's not hard to get up if you got the passion for fishing. It's not hard. No matter how tired you are, it's not hard to get up and want to go to work because you knew it was going to be different than the day before.
Yeah.
I never, ever got bored, even though I might drive 12, 14 hours one way.
Yeah.
While everybody's sleeping on the way out of the rigs. I had plenty to think about.
Yeah, I bet. So how'd you progress? When did the opportunity come up for you to be a captain? Like, how'd that work out?
It's just the natural progression. After 5 years on the deck, I got my captain's license while I was still a mate. I was just licensed 100-ton captain and a deckhand still. And then finally, a fella had a boat that had a hired captain, and that captain got fired. And he approached me and said, man, would you like to run my boat? It's called The Month After May. George McDowell Sr. Was the owner. And I did it at the end of the year. I did it right. I waited till the season was over, told my captain, Tommy Green at the time, that I had this opportunity and I was going to make the jump.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys in today's world stay on the deck because the money's better than a hired captain because a lot of it's cash.
Yeah.
And if you're a hired captain, you're getting paid with a check.
Yeah.
But the pay rate is lower. So you almost take a pay cut for the prestige.
Got it.
Say. Now, part of that progression, though, at some point is you get your own boat and become your own, businessman. Yeah. And then that financial aspect takes a turn.
The captains will get tipped out in cash? Man, we always do.
I've been running, since I sold my boat in 2018, I've been running a lot of boats. I might get one tip out of 25 trips. It's just a lot of, they just figure, especially when you own the boat, they figure they're already paying you enough. They're not going to tip you.
It's interesting.
You don't get.
I would always ask the captain, whether it was you or anybody else, even friggin' Costa Rica, I'd ask the captain, like, hey, here it is for everybody. Do you want to distribute it? Some say, no, you give it to them. Or,
I always, if you give me $500, I'm giving all $500 to my mate unless you tell me part of that's mine. Now, there's a lot of captains don't do that. They'll split with their mate, and their mate kind of gets hosed. But I really want to. I've always had the very best deckhands in the fleet.
Yeah,
there's a reason.
You take care of your people.
Made sure they made the most amount of money, especially seeing how they had to put up with me every single day.
Yeah.
The little placard.
Appreciate your honesty, sir.
Yeah. The little placard that says the floggings will continue until morale improves. Yeah. I think
that was you.
For a long part of my career, that was me. Now, when I got a little older, I started to mellow out, and now that I'm a grandpa, I'm the best captain there ever was for my deckhands because now I'm their grandpa and not their captain.
Oh yeah.
When I was the captain, especially when I was owning my own boat and paying all the bills, I had zero tolerance.
You're a little tougher.
Yeah,
so
much tougher.
All right. So you were running, I guess, somebody else's boat. out of the gate, right? How long did that go on?
From 83 to 88 when I bought my first boat.
Okay.
And the reason that's part of the progression, you start running another person's boat to develop your own client base before you can step off that boat and go into the world of financing a boat for yourself. You gotta have some people that want to fish with you.
So let me ask that question. We're kind of go down that rabbit hole. Just curious, because I don't know this, even living here. I know the boats have recognizable names, but do some people go to the captain? Like what you just said, you needed a following when you left to go have your own. And I know we'll get to your boat and their names, but do people associate fishing with the boat or the captain?
More the captain and the crew than the boat.
Okay.
Time after time, we'd have customers on board and they say, yeah, we came down here 3 years ago. We had a great trip with Captain Stan. And I go, what? There might be 4 Captain Stans.
Yeah.
Well, what was the name of the boat? Oh, I can't remember the name of the boat, but it's Captain Stan.
Yeah.
Now, they don't remember Captain Stan's last name, but apparently they didn't find
never got it.
They didn't find Captain Stan because now they're on my boat.
Yes. Right.
But people are funny that way. And this is pre-social media and all that kind of stuff. Now it's easier when people go on your boat and start following you. You don't lose them because they don't come back for 2 or 3 years. They follow you day after day after day after day.
But it's still, if I'm hearing you right, kind of gravitating to the experience with the captain. If you go out there and you crush it, they're associating that success with Captain Gary and the good job he did. The boat, the vessel really doesn't matter.
Nope.
Okay, cool. All right. So at 88, you buy what? What'd you get? What was your first boat?
It was a 38 Infinity. And, prior to that, I was running a boat called the Back Down, and it was a 45 Hatteras. So I had the fastest boat in the fleet. A couple doctors from Cincinnati owned it. We ran it for about 3 years, and people were tearing their boat up, so they decided chartering their boat and losing money and getting wear and tear on the boat was no good. So they said, we're not going to charter it anymore. And I go, well, I've been building my business under Back Down for 3 years. So can I have the name and use it and I'll buy my own boat? And they said, not only can you do that, he goes, we'll just pay you to watch our boat for another year. So I had this cushion. I had a base salary that they were paying me. I would
make your transition.
Oh, it made the transition very easy. And of course, that's about awesome. The time I got up with, Bill and Steve and Steiner and Bob, I can't remember his name now, but those guys helped me increase my client base. So after the first year of that cushion, when that disappeared, when they sold the boat, I was blowing and going with my little 38 Infinity.
But that 38 Infinity was called the Back Down.
That was the second Back Down.
Okay. Well, second Back Down, but not
the big boat.
Not Back Down 2. No, but were the Abbots? 88. That was in 88 when they got the Infinity. Were the Abbots, because they were starting to really grow here too.
Steve Abbott.
Were they sending you clients like through the business?
Yes, through Abbott Resorts.
Okay, cool.
At the time, and I took them fishing, and me and Jim Steiner were best buddies, and our kids all grew up together, and
Did you run Bill's boat?
I did in 2001.
Okay,
when he bought the Cabo.
Okay.
I had 2 boats at the time. In 94, I bought the Back Down 2, which was a 57 Miller. So I had 2 boats, and I had my mate who'd been working for me for 12 years, Brady Bowman, running my small boat. And after about 2 years of that, it's bad enough having one boat. Having 2 boats. And I'm saying this, I could only imagine because I've never had 2 wives.
Yeah.
But having 2 boats would seem to me would be as difficult as having 2 wives because it's hard enough to keep
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with your own operation and then get a phone call at 8:00 at night from the captain of the other vessel who you would assume would take that responsibility saying, oh, the toilet's clogged and I can't fix the motor or that kind of stuff. So then all of a sudden you become the babysitter instead of the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind when you own your own boat. that comes with the territory, is working on it and fixing it, repairing it, and maintaining it. But when you have two boats, you have a hired captain and mate, you expect them to carry on that tradition, but they don't.
They don't.
Nah.
That's
so after
still not their boat.
There you go.
Yeah.
And ownership changes everything.
Yeah.
Most people that have worked for other people and finally step out entrepreneurship in their own realm, then it all comes back to them why their boss was so grumpy.
Yeah. That's a good point.
why he was so anal about toilet paper in the bathroom and stuff like that. They start to grasp the reality. Until you own something for yourself and run your own business, I don't care how good of an employee you are, it's not the same.
I wish there was a way for people to somewhat experience that, because that holds so true. And it's not a knock on people, anybody, but still.
Human nature.
Yeah. Well, you for sure. I say it similar, but a little different. Until you've had to pay everybody else and not pay yourself, it's hard to understand ownership. Yep. Or entrepreneurship, or however you want to look at it. But
when times are tough, you're the last guy to get paid.
Yeah, for sure. But no one ever thinks that way if you never had to do it.
My boys fired 164 employees.
Yeah, bless them.
They were unemployed too.
Yeah, because there was no income.
Yeah. Ownership. It's what I call it's a character builder.
Yeah, I like your positive attitude and way to look at it. Because look. If you're going to own a business, you're going to run a business, you have to have some positivity in you, and you got to spread that, because it's part of some of it sucks.
Be tough.
Yeah, well, but
mentally, physically, emotionally, I mean, it's just it comes with the territory.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I don't think it running a title company versus a fishing boat is still entrepreneurship. And yes, you have to be tough, and there's certain days it's going to suck, but you got to get out there and got to get it done. And if you come in all pissed off and feeling bad and moaning and groaning, what is everybody else going to do? Same shit. So, pick everybody up. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
I know you guys do that. So, all right, you realize that you didn't want two wives and sold a little boat.
Yeah.
I said a little boat. It's not a little boat, but the Infinity.
Yeah, sold the
Infinity. So did you sell it to the captain or just?
I sold it to another mate who got his license, and unfortunately he had some personal issues, and after about a year didn't make his payments and stuff. So I held the paper on it. I financed him because I was trying to help him out.
Yeah.
And when that failed, I took the boat back and I got to sell it again. So that was okay.
Okay.
But this time I sold it. To somebody.
Sold it outright.
Yeah. Somebody handed me a check and I patted them on the head and off they went. And I learned that valuable lesson too. Don't.
So in that instance, I know this isn't typical. You didn't sell the name, right? Because you had, what was it, still the back down and back down too?
Yeah, the name didn't go with it. I just sold the boat.
Got it. Okay,
that was part of the sales contract too. So then it was just a back down too for a number of years. Back then technology was getting better, and always being that alpha dog, I was always looking for the best way to do things. When they didn't have these chart plotters, stuff like that, I had a home computer, with a tower and video screen and all that, and they'd last about 3 months on a boat because of the salt, air, and pounding.
So you had like a desktop on your
the old
upstairs
desktop, so I could run these CDs I had gotten in the oil field showing pipeline crosses and stuff, and different what was beginning to be digital charts and stuff like that, all just to be a better fisherman, because I fish year round. I didn't just charter fish and then go work in the oil fields or go chop wood or work as a roofer. I stayed in the Gulf. So the whole time I was a mate, even when I was a captain, all the way up until 1991, I for 13 years, I commercial fished on the back deck. Even though I was a captain, even though I owned my own boat, working, fishing with Dale Beebe to get through the winter to provide for my family. And then when I started commercial fishing on the small boat, the back down, man, we just grinded out there, and I would fish sometimes harder in the winter as we did in the summer, just trying to make a living. I was financially motivated to feed my families.
Yeah.
but I figured the best way to become the best fisherman is spend more time looking at my fathometer and fishing.
10,000 hours.
And
practice.
As a result, I missed a lot of stuff during the course of being gone out there, but I did provide for my family, and I learned a lot, and it made me a better fisherman, and ended up last year getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, Destin Hall of Fame, as one of the very first members of the Hall, and it was part of that effort and that grinding it out, just working really, really hard to make a living.
That's awesome. So you got inducted to the City of Destin Hall of Fame as a fisherman.
Yes.
Not for your politics?
No.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back. We're going to come back to that.
Yes,
so congratulations on that.
That was
what was it?
It's a Destin Fishing Hall of Fame. Actually, our sheriff, Eric Alden, was one that he grew up fishing on charter boats before he got into law enforcement. And he was like, man, we have such a great heritage here in Destin. We should have a Hall of Fame to relive those older days and honor the people that are still doing it. And the initial class had 14 members, and I was blessed to be one of the ones that was selected by the selection committee. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that makes me an expert, and you know what an expert is, right? X is a has-been, and a spurt is a short burst of energy that falls harmlessly to the ground.
I've never heard that.
Yes. So
repeat that for me. X is a what?
Has been.
Has been. Okay. X has been. Yeah, has been. Okay.
And
spurt is a short burst of energy that
falls harmlessly to the ground. Whether you're spitting or shooting a bullet. But so anyways, and that was one of my little jokes I'd always tell my deckhands and stuff like that.
I'd never heard that.
I had a lot of little idiosyncrasies.
You're coaching. You're using. You stick with people to coach them up.
Yeah. Well, of course, that's another part of my life too.
Well,
coaching wrestling and baseball.
Go back to the fishing for a minute. Did you ever go out and do your own reefs and any of that stuff?
Yeah, we did all that before, especially before the EPA shut us down, and
can you not do that at all anymore?
Yeah, you can. Now it's permitted process. You can only use steel, quarter-inch steel, or concrete. It has to be improved materials. Back then, man, we'd roll cars on the back of our boats and haul them out there and dump them. Whole cars.
You use chicken coops?
I never had to deal with those things because back when I was building wrecks, we'd use vans and truck cabs and tie tires up on the bow and washing machines on top of them, and then push them over and hope you didn't get caught up in it and sunk, go over with the loader, which almost happened to me a couple different times.
What? You run over a washing machine you just dumped in the water?
No. When you're pushing all that stuff, you tie them together. We tie them together with old telephone cables.
Okay.
And when you go to push him over, there'd be stuff laying on the deck. I got caught up one time. My boot snatched my boot off. Fortunately, my boot went overboard. And
not you?
And not me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Get drug off when you dump it.
After that, I always kept the knife in my hand.
I bet.
Just in case I had to cut my leg off. So it was dangerous stuff that we did. But, man, when I worked for Dale Beebe as a mate, we built 3 wrecks every time we left. One load of tires on the right side, one load of tires on the left, and whatever van or car or station wagon we had on ramps on the back. And that's how a lot of
You're putting a friggin' station wagon on the back of a fishing boat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'd roll that thing.
How do you get it on there?
Just roll it right across the dock and right up on the boat with manpower, no winches, none of that. You'd have been there to see it.
I'm sure. That sounds incredible to watch.
Because it was hard to do, and not there weren't very many captains that were good enough fishing to go commercial fishing. It was really important to whatever he wanted you to do. And they'd bring a whole semi truck full of tires, and we'd throw them out on the ground and cut the tires so it wouldn't trap air. That was 1 or 2 days of just cutting tires, just to get ready to make a load.
I always presumed the wrecks were or the artificial, or whatever you call them, for the charters. Do you do it for commercial too?
Both.
Okay, so you
all depending on how far down you went.
Yeah.
With Dale, we built a lot of wrecks for commercial fishing for the winter time. But for myself, I mainly built wrecks to charter fish.
Yeah.
Within 35.
Because, I mean, that's mainly like a bottom fishing tactic, right?
And then it finally got to the point with me, especially when I sold my boat in 2018, about 2012 or 13, right after Deepwater Horizon. There were so many wrecks out there, and I knew so much stuff with the short seasons. I couldn't catch every fish that was out there anyway. So
yeah,
I pretty much quit wreck fishing. So, or not wreck fishing, but building wrecks, and then, of course, I let younger guys build them.
Yeah.
And I'd find them. So that worked out good.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So you're charter fishing and commercial fishing in the winter for yourself all the way through the 2000s, right?
Yep.
Now you had or have 3 sons. You also coached during that time when they were growing up.
Like I said, I was an athlete in school, and wrestling was one of my favorite things. So when in the military, when I first got in, they really encouraged participating in the community, to build goodwill. Plus, you get some perks from the military if I was, and so I started coaching at Choctaw High School in '78, right after I got here.
Oh, really? So before the boys?
No, 1980 actually. Yeah. 79. Okay. Yeah, 79. Because I remember in 80 coaching at Choctaw, Bryce was like 2 running around on the mat.
Yeah.
My oldest son, who's 46 now. And so I coached high school wrestling a couple of years at Choctaw, and then I moved over to Fort Walton Beach. I met a guy that was coaching the team, and we got along real well, and I coached over there till 96. So I coached high school wrestling for 16, 18 years.
Okay.
And then I also coached the boys in soccer and Little League and baseball, because I played baseball in high school too. None of them did ice hockey because there was no ice in there.
Because we live at the beach, Gary.
Yeah. But as soon as they got ice in Pensacola, I went back and got on the ice. I think I was about 34 years old and stuff like that. So I got back to playing.
Have you officially hung up the skates?
We'll see how it goes after I get a new knee Thursday. I haven't been able to play for the last 14 months because I tore my meniscus on both knees, and I've been limping around on this left one here, climbing my tree stand ladders one leg at a time. It's been a struggle here this winter.
For those of y'all listening out there, Gary, at the young age of, I don't know, but a little older than me, since I'm as old as his oldest son, has been playing ice hockey forever. Right?
It's like been playing competitive. I played all the way through high school. Travel.
I was talking about you in your more mature years. After you retired the boat, you were still playing ice hockey, dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I won a national title in 2010 and 2011 with some guys out of North Carolina. We played 50 and over in the USA National Championships, and then I've been playing 60 and over. That's how we won a tournament in Nashville when I tore my meniscus the August before last. In 60 and over. And I'm one of the older guys. I'm 69 today. And if I get my legs fixed, I could play 70 and over, and I'd be one of the young stars then. I thought about just getting rid of my hockey equipment, but something inside me said no.
You're still in good shape, dude.
Right.
Get the knee fixed, see where it goes. I'd love to see a picture of you at the young age of 70 out there on the ice, dude. How awesome would that be?
I got to go. There's bunch of guys that play it.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, go back. So you're coaching, you're fishing, family. Y'all are in Destin now, right?
Yep.
You live in Destin?
Moved to Destin in 80. We built our house in 1980. Bryce was 2, and I think Tyler was in an infant seat.
Yeah.
When we moved into our house, and been living in the same place ever since.
So at what point, and just because we've, again, known each other a long time, at some point, well, first of all, I don't think this was before politics. We had the oil spill. What did you do during the oil spill? Because you couldn't fish, right?
No, they shut us down. And by 2010, I'd been an advocate promoting our industry.
So you were doing that then, before the oil spill?
As an advocate for our industry.
Okay.
Going to D.C., dealing with FWC, trying to get some things changed for our industry. A lot of it was self-motivated because, I was concerned about my wallet in my back pocket.
Yeah.
And so I got involved in the fishery management process because I felt like we were getting shortchanged.
Well, expand on that, because I was going to ask you. I just didn't realize that you were involved before the oil spill. So, what were you trying to change?
I was trying to get our own allocation of fish, because when
on which side? Because commercial and charter are two different.
On charter. See, the charter industry was like the buck-tooth stepchilds, with orthopedic shoes on. They weren't recreational, but they weren't commercial. Even though we fished and made money, but we were taking recreational fishermen, so we weren't an identified user group.
Okay,
they had commercial and recreational. So that wasn't working out too well for us.
And charter's kind of somewhere in between.
Yeah, we're the redhead stepchild.
Yeah, okay.
Period.
Because you're getting paid.
Commercial guys hated us. We didn't like them. The recreational guys hated us. We didn't like them. So we were really out there flopping in the breeze. So I figured the only way that we could change that dynamic is we need to get it written in law to be a recognized user group.
Mm-hmm.
And which I introduced in 2008 in the Gulf Council, and then B, get our own allocation of red snapper, which was the fish du jour at the time in the management process. And so I introduced sector separation in 2008, and after much anguish and wailing and gnashing of teeth, Secretary of Commerce signed that into effect in 2014 post oil spill. That did that for us. We were put in the reauthorization of Magnuson and got our own user group, our own allocation of fish, and our fleet today benefits from it.
That's at a federal level, right?
That's at the federal level.
Okay.
And so because they were using us to restrict catch by making us have a permit, but they didn't do anything to the other part of the recreational industry, and we were just getting swallowed up by the unfettered growth, and we couldn't grow.
So you're, if I'm hearing you right, and please correct me if it's wrong, your limits were the same as recreational at the time?
Mm-hmm. But the states, when everybody didn't like what the federal managers were doing at the Gulf Council level, the states say, well, we're just going to go ahead and fish in 9 miles, and we're going to leave it open year round. Well, what that did is that ate up all the allocation, and the charter boats got the federally permitted charter boats that couldn't fish in state waters until the federal season opened up. We got 9 days.
Huh.
And they had year round. And that's
commercial and recreational?
No, just
recreational
side. Commercial guys had their own fishery, their own portion of the fish already.
Okay.
And being a commercial fisherman, I understood all that. And so I understood the importance of having your own allocation and your own, and because commercial were what they call limited access privilege programs. There was only X amount of commercial guys. That's how they restrained harvest. Well, that's what
they restrained it by the number of licenses issued.
Yep. And their own
keep track.
And their well, when it starts affecting your wallet, you start learning that. And I could speed read, so I caught up to the history of fishery management and became a spokesman and advocate for our industry. And then let's get back to the oil spill. During the oil spill, it was crushing, just kind of like COVID was for small businesses, when all of a sudden the government says you're out of business with no way, no notice, short term, no plan. You can't operate. Well, that's the way it was in the oil spill a couple of weeks after, it already happened.
Didn't they pay you to drive around and look for oil slicks?
Yeah, that was the hush money from BP. That was just that.
Did you ever find one?
I didn't wait. I ended up getting in the BOO program, and I was assigned to an offshore skimming task force. I spent 64 straight days out in the Gulf of Mexico. Offshore, they brought fuel, food. We never went back. And we were actually skimming, using shrimp boats and these big oil booms. We were actually getting oil and offloading it onto ships. And I stayed out there the whole time. Now, let me finish.
Were you on your boat?
I was on my boat.
Okay.
And all I was doing was I was carrying safety people, air quality guys, and dive EMTs, which were, again, to cover their So we'd pull over the shrimp boats, and they would get on there and put their little air monitors, and I'd pick them up and put them off. So we're transferring people, and then the rest of the day there wasn't much to do. So I'd be like a range marker for the shrimpers. I'd find a big pot of oil, and I'd sit there and hold up, and then they would bring the booms, and I'd scoot out of the way, and they'd soap up the oil. We did.
So they retrofitted the shrimp boats with something that's
with booms.
Yeah.
Yeah, with oil booms. Instead of dragging a net, they dragged the booms. And then at night we'd pump them out. But I was one of the first guys in the charter industry that had a sat phone. So while I was out there, and I was good friends with a couple people here on the beach because of my involvement in fisheries management. So I got to be where on Tuesdays and Thursdays I would do a conference call with Governor Charlie Crist at the time and their emergency management people, our regional manager of National Marine Fisheries, and I would give them a real live eye view update of what's going on, where we were at in the Gulf of Mexico at that time. And so I did that during the whole oil spill till they decommissioned us in September after the oil spill had quit.
Crazy.
So that got me an invite from the Obama administration to meet with President Obama and Secretary Malbus in Panama City that September to give him a personal briefing of how the oil spill affected Northwest Florida. So
was it really a personal briefing or publicity stuff?
And some of my guys were like, I wouldn't go over there with President Obama because, a lot of us are conservatives. Yeah. And I said, well, he happens to be my president and you don't tell him no. And I said, you
respect the office. That's the right thing.
And so I went in there and gave the briefing. And for the next 8 years, I got a Christmas card from the White House. From Michelle and President Obama.
I didn't know.
I never kept a single one of them.
I figured Pam had them framed on the wall.
No, that wasn't happening. But so that's the kind of involvement I had on the management side. And
go back to oil spill real quick. So were you? So y'all were really finding oil? I didn't think they found that much.
No, there were lots.
I guess the whole scare of the beach. It wasn't coming to the beach.
No, we got a little bit came in around Pensacola, a little couple of tar balls off of Destin. The main thing, the VOO thing where they'd run up and down the beach looking for oil, that was right within to where people could see the boats going up and down the beach. And all it was to calm everybody's fears, or BP was using that to show that they really cared. Yeah. Well, of course, that didn't work out too good for them in the courts, but
no, it did not.
But what happened is we were just coming off the housing collapse in 2006, 7, and 8.
I'm well aware, dude.
And everybody, most people on this podcast remember that well.
Yeah.
Because they were virtually unemployed too.
Yeah.
And so we had guys that were really struggling because most people that build houses fish.
Yeah.
The electricians, drywall guys, it's a blue collar business with blue collar customers. And so it really, it was a struggle thank God I was commercial fishing back in then because it had been tough. But so what happened is we were about to lose some guys were putting their boats up for sale in 2009 in spring of 2010. And that oil spill with the VOO program saved the fleet in Destin because they did make a lot of money in a short period of time to catch up with their debt load.
Yeah.
And was they be able to.
I never thought about that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Because the
oil spill was a windfall. Guys like me that didn't go through attorneys and applied for the money I knew while that oil was pouring out and I could see with my own eyes. I'm not very smart, but I got common sense. I knew that the checks would flow fast.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't wait. I filed a claim. Plus, we struggled so much I never could rabbit hole cash much. I had to pay every penny I made, put in the bank, and pay my bills. So I was able to prove my worth to the government when I applied for financial, or to BP, how much they were affecting my business. I got big checks. Yeah. And I got big checks for being out there doing what we were doing. And my crew wanted to mutiny. After about 35 days, they were done with it because the guys that were doing that beach thing, they'd show up 8 o'clock. They were getting paid, I think deckhands were getting $300 a day. You come back in at 4 o'clock and go home, see their wives and girlfriends.
They were getting the same
like and we were getting the same amount. And I kept telling them, I said, boys, we're going to be doing this long after they're done. Of course, I turned out to be right.
Yeah.
So a little tropical depression came in. They ran us into Mobile Bay, anchored up. We still couldn't go to land, but I got a guy to come out and pick me up. So I ran into Orange Beach. I bought a PlayStation with every game that they had, brought it back to the boat, and it's the only thing that kept my crew from mutiny because now they had a PlayStation. And my one deckhand,
bring with them, take you to a strip club or something.
No. I didn't want them to get off the boat because I knew they wouldn't ever come back. So, and my one deckhand was engaged, and his girlfriend cheated on him in the 3 months we were out there. I said, "See, I saved you from a bad marriage." We tested her commitment, and she failed.
That's right.
But when they decommissioned everybody at the end, they closed the well, I think in July, and all those guys were done. We were drawing paychecks all the way. We hit the beach August 7th or 8th, and they paid us at full all the way till October 15th. Some guys got like $4,000 or $5,000 at the dock, not having to go anywhere to do anything. And they were like, "Oh, Captain, you're so smart." I'm like, I said, "No, I ain't smart." I said, "I just saw the handwriting on the wall." And so it was a huge windfall for all of us. It set me and Pam up really well to move on into some other business ventures and stuff. And it was just because, we used a little common sense and approached it with both eyes open and it was scary. When you wake up and somebody's telling you can't go make a living today, tomorrow, when can I go back? We don't know. That was very unsettling. A buddy of mine in Orange Beach killed himself. He was already dealing with little depression issues over the years and had 2 boats or 3 boats. And when he applied for the VOO, they didn't accept him right away. And he just couldn't deal with the despair and the issue. And of course, I felt despair. So I could relate to what happened with him.
Sure.
It was just a sad testament of how impactful the Deepwater Horizon. Those are the stories that are untold, and those are the realities of the situation. Unfortunately, because people in America are really fast to figure things out. A lot of people got money that never, ever should have got a dime out of the BP oil spill.
I agree 100%.
Fraud out the wazoo. But that's what happens when they start throwing money.
Well, your more recent national event, that was, to us, it doesn't seem localized, but, the standards of our country, that was fairly localized to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. But, we didn't get cut off by the government, but in our world, we lost 75% of our orders between May and June.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And another thing that happened is it was a windfall for me because I could prove my worth to the people that were trying to pay us for the damage done. And it's a lesson that I use to share with all our fleet members that, guys, if you want to put a couple $100, buy mom a new pair of shoes, but you need to be accountable for what you do to protect yourself in chances of natural hurricane, or man-made disasters. And it was a valuable lesson that our fleet members have learned. It made them more respectable tax-paying citizens, for one, but it also allowed us, as we move through the management process, is to be able to prove the worth of the charter industry to America, not just to the IRS. And so when we go, we're a small group. There's only 1,100 federal permitted charter boat guys, but when we go to DC or to Gulf Council meetings, we can prove our worth to the nation, and that makes us politically stronger because you could do that. Prior to all that, there was fishing was a wild, even the commercial industry was wild west, under the table, backdoor fish. But now the commercial fishing industry is the most accountable industry probably, other than oil and gas in the country today. And they realized that it was crucial for their own survival, because if you can't prove your worth to the nation, I have a saying, if you're not there setting the table, you soon become part of the menu. Yeah. And so that's why you have to prove your worth to the nation, and you have to be there to make sure you don't end up on the menu. And the only way you do that is being accountable for what you do.
The oil spill gave you a good opportunity to demonstrate that, because a hurricane could have the same effect, but not necessarily the opportunity, because it's, comes through the Gulf, but usually it's the land part that's damaged. So,
right.
And a lot of times the boats gets damaged. Well, you're still in the same spot.
Yeah,
you
and
can't
it's a smaller
the business
zone with a smaller affected people. This affected everybody.
Yeah,
from
sure.
Brownsville, Texas, all the way to Key West. At a couple points, they had the entire Gulf of Mexico shut down to commercial and charter everything. So everybody was put out, and that's why post Deepwater Horizon spill, when they actually went to the courts and started doing the finfish settlement, which dealt with the charter guys were part of VOOG. Not very many commercial guys were. Some were, but not all.
What is that?
It was another lawsuit of the damage that the Deepwater Horizon spill did. And it was from the marketing standpoint, because even though the oil quit pouring and fishing opened back up, there was still a national and international opinion is like, don't get anything from the Gulf of Mexico. You don't know if it's contaminated or not.
Yeah.
And so that was damaging. In fact, that's why BP paid a lot of money to visit Florida and the coastal communities, to their tourist development councils, to create advertising opportunities to bring people back to the Gulf Coast. Well, that affected the markets, in New York and Chicago and in California on fish, wild caught seafood. And so that settlement came, 5-6 years later. Being a commercial fisherman, I reaped another nice little check.
That's still being used with, I can't think of the name of that board. That's,
the Triumph.
Yeah. And that's from the BP money, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned something like the commercial fisherman side, because it's just, it all over the country. You got red snapper and grouper, and concentration of it in our area. It's all over, but I feel like I'll only eat goldfish here, and I want it fresh too, because I'm a princess like that. But it's just a massive amount of fish going all over the country. I would think the industry would be way bigger.
Well, the resource can only take so much.
Yeah.
Prior to the locomotive and the Henry repeating rifle, there was millions of buffalo out on the plains.
Well, good point, Gary. Thank you.
When technology and a price on their head of the buffalo, so it went from sustenance, harvest to profit. With technology, what do we do to the buffalo?
Yeah.
Well,
they gone.
The fish,
pretty much,
fisheries, ducks, deer, elk, it's all the same. So there's more demand, more technology, and that the resource could tolerate. And that's why the whole management process is doing what it's doing, is trying to provide us, because we have the capability to kill them all.
Sure. Do you feel like it's at a good balance today?
Well, the representation on the council is not, and that's a whole nother story. So the fishers,
what is the council you keep referring to? Because I don't think
it's the Gulf of America Fishery Management Council.
We have to change the acronym beginning of this year.
That's correct. But, we could do a podcast just on the management process.
But what is that? What does it do?
They're responsible for managing the species that swim in the Gulf of Mexico.
So it's just a Gulf of Mexico thing. Yep. And what's that board comprised of, or how are you?
It's got all 5 states have a voting member.
Okay.
And then all 5 states have 3 at-large members that are appointed by the governors. Before the Lott Amendment expired 2018, it was supposed to be a scientist, a recreational, and a commercial guy. Right now, there's no commercial representation on the council, and only 2 actual charter for hire guys and 1 scientist out of 17 voting members, because the influential lobby, fishing lobby, the CCA, affects who the governor selects, and so they've front loaded it. And so anything that is commercial or charter for hire, we're we're not going to win those decisive battles at this point because they're stacked. So
they're stacked on the
private
recreational
side.
Okay.
And they're all about access and selling boats and motors. And to be honest with you, they don't give a rat's butt behind on the overall status of the species. And when you're a commercial guy or a charter guy and your success depends on healthy fisheries, you become rather strong conservationist of the resource that you're relying on. And not only is it important to you as an individual, but it's important to your community, like Destin. You know, when you got, 160, charter boats and all the customers coming here and the value added taxes that brings in. If you got crappy fisheries, people ain't going to go.
Yeah.
And that has happened in the past. We've whittled them down once or twice in my lifetime, and it really rebounded there for a while. And we were just cruising right along from about the oil spill till 2018. And now just about every single one of our fisheries are in decline. And it's because of piss poor management. And it's because of the politics of the management process now, not the scientific part. Which a lot of people tried to blame the lack of science as the reason the management process was.
But if I heard you right, there's also probably, I won't say names, but boat companies and boat motor companies.
It's called the American Sport Fishing Manufacturing Association.
They're influencing this lobby.
Along with the Coastal Conservation Agency.
I feel like it just swings, but the pendulum, they can't find the middle.
Those two groups are running the show.
And they're being funded, not necessarily people that are fishermen, but want to sell boats. Maybe they're fishermen, but.
For the CCA, they got 6 or 7 guys getting paid 6 figures running their organization, and their membership's based on selling $20 tickets for a chance to win the skiff to be a CCA member. And when it comes to politics, their memberships are doctors and lawyers and attorneys and people that live here where we're having this podcast that can stroke a $10,000 check for a political, for a governor or something like that. And so, I would say the scales are a little weighted one way over the other. And like I said, the only hope in hell that the charter and commercial guys have is we tell a good story that we're conservation based and that we stay within our allocations and the limits and we don't overfish and that we provide fish to the entire country, not just somebody who's rich enough to have a boat and a motor.
Yeah.
It's only saving grace right now is we have a story that, I think we've been involved in 6 federal lawsuits and we've won all but one because we do it the right way. So it's interesting.
Is that charter and commercial coming together?
Oh, we have been now since I got involved in 2008.
Are you still involved?
Unfortunately, with 5 seafood restaurants, yes, I am. And, and I'm really going to retire. I already told David I'm not running the 40-foot catamaran next year. I might go out there.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. There we go. I'm really going to retire. I might. Okay. Well, look,
I can't get away from it because our family still
survives on it.
Survives on fresh.
And you're passionate.
Yeah.
Just like back when you were a second May decade, there's got to be a passion there. Yeah. And I get it, but you're, also not doing the same thing, putting food on the table. Just kind of different angle now.
Well, and being the grandfather now, I care about the guys that are 25 years old that had the same dream I had when I was 25.
Sure.
I have time for that now.
Yeah. Good for you.
It's kind of like your dad with your girls.
Yeah. I understand.
Time he didn't have for you. He's got plenty of time.
Yeah, he's got time now. All good. So, at one point, you also went in a political path locally. What point did you decide, and what was a trigger to possibly run for the mayor of Destin?
Kind of what I just said. Worried about our fleet. Destin doesn't have any historical buildings like Pensacola or other big cities, but we have one hell of a heritage of how we came into being, and it's all revolved around the commercial and the charter fishing industry in Destin. And I saw the encroachment of the pontoon boat rental companies and some of the things that were going on in the town, and I knew I was going to sell my boat, and I started another business boat owners assistant trainings. I wasn't going to quit fishing or get out of the industry completely, but I also saw a great need that if somebody with leadership capabilities didn't come in and stop the bleeding in our fishing or in our community, that our fleet was in peril. And so I had a bunch of people that wanted me to be a city council person because they get to vote on these issues. And being an advocate for my industry and surviving federal lawsuits, I understand the power of the public record and how powerful that is. And I said, well, I know the mayor doesn't get the vote, but the mayor has a gavel in his hand and gets the last word. Okay. And that last word is basically exculpatory evidence of the inevitable lawsuit that's going to take place when you win. And I understood that. And so I said, no. I said, I know there's an incumbent. I said, I want to be mayor because I want to be able to guide the conversation. I don't need a vote. I just need the gavel. Because even, and I had a hostile council, to say the least, during the, I got a briefing book on the sunshine laws, how our city structure was, but I didn't get a briefing book on how to maintain a decorum and decision-making during a pandemic.
Yeah, you think?
So halfway through my mayorship, after dealing with all that dirty politics deal and got that underway, then all of a sudden we were hit with the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I stood before the county commissioner, said, don't close our beaches. I caught hell for that.
Yeah, what a bunch of horse shit.
I told him, I think we had 3 cases at the time. I said, doesn't add up. Now, 3 weeks after they closed them, I started getting phone calls from the locals that were screaming at me 3 weeks prior, saying, can we just open the beaches like for 2 hours in the morning? I'm like, there's this thing called the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution that says we can't do that. It's either open for everybody or it's closed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got some more credibility than doing that. But I also spoke out in public on TV against Governor DeSantis' blanket approach. And I understand it because he didn't get a briefing book on pandemics either. When he, because of what was going on in Broward-Dade County, I mean, they closed everything, essential personnel, which nobody ever defined that and all that. And here we were getting close to Memorial Day. And I'm like, dude, and the thing is about with the governor, he closed everything down. He had his cabinet shuttered. They were not allowed to speak or talk or make any public comments about the decisions that were taking place and how they were dealing with COVID. And, our Congressman Jimmy Petronas and I are good friends. And I was like wearing him out, like, Jimmy, you got to get through to him that, we got 14 cases here in Okaloosa County. And I said, closing the beach is the worst thing to do. And Jimmy's like, man, I just, we just can't say nothing. We can't, but I just pounded it. And then I went public with the same thing saying, math doesn't add up, folks. You just got to treat county by county. And the irony of this was, especially with the closing of the beaches, the mental thought process was, we'll just close our borders to keep the germs out.
Yeah.
DeSantis did that when he closed Highway 98 or I-10 down, remember?
Yeah.
So everybody just came down 98 from Louisiana anyways. That's stupid.
The whole thing was dumb.
But even though retirement community, which I was part of, that was their mindset. Well, the first cases that came into Okaloosa County were from Okaloosa County residents that went off to visit their friends in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff made sense. And I was an outspoken guy because using common sense, and I got all the same information that the governor got every single day from the county, from the statewide, emergency management, I just kept looking at it as like, man, the math doesn't add up to what we're doing and what we're doing to our people. Like I said, when Tyler and Chris and my son Bryce, when they closed shop, they put 200-300 people in Okaloosa County out of work.
Yep.
And they were out of work.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Bosses got fired right along. And I said, here we are. We're running out of time to make a living when you get to Memorial Day. We'd already been closed for 3.5 months. And, man, I was angry at that point. And so what kind of cool is that he opened up short-term rentals the week before Memorial Day. 6 months later, Governor DeSantis is a hero.
Yep.
Because he did everything that I was pushing him to do, and others too. I mean, I wasn't the only one, but I was the mayor of a city that relied on tourism in Northwest Florida, and I was extremely outspoken against it. And when I got calls from our local constituents, you're trying to kill us, and I'm like, dude, I said, my sons don't have comorbidities of this stuff, the best I understand it. I said, I'm 64 years. I think I was 64 at the time, maybe 62. I said, so I'm in there with you. I said, but let me tell you what, I'm not afraid of my own mortality. And I said, so if you are, I have a big truck. You call me, you tell me what you need, medicine, clothing, what have you. I will deliver it on your front porch, and you don't have to go outside till I leave. I said, but having my sons and our 20-year-old and 25-year-old employees all out of work over this is asinine.
Yep.
And after it was all over, a lot of those people that were giving me hell came, I'd see them on the streets like, man, you were right. And of course, I'm glad I was right.
Yeah.
Because, we got through this stuff. And I went 736 days from the first time it was officially announced we had COVID in Okaloosa County before I got COVID.
So what to it? Yeah.
I think it was a Delta variant, and I had a cold for 3 days.
Well, you might have been, you may or may not. I only know this because I had blood work every 3 months. I had COVID twice, and I was asymptomatic.
Yeah.
I had nothing.
Well, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, and the third time I actually got it, I actually had some symptoms. And a little side note of all the BS that was putting out during that time, because it was fear mongering. And it was all about money. Call it what it is. I took ivermectin, the horse drug. 2 hours later, I was perfectly fine.
Yeah, ivermectin's crazy. Good stuff. We have it at our house.
Yeah,
but this part of the discussion all started about when I become mayor and why I become mayor, and a lot of it had to do with I just thought I would bring a common sense, fair-minded approach to things important in our city. And one of the very first things I did prior to my battle with my little cohorts on the council and prior to COVID was we were getting slammed. And this applies to a lot of your podcasters that listen to this podcast, is we were getting our brand, the Destin brand, was getting creamed on social media because we didn't have any beach access in Crystal Beach. And I was talking with Jennifer Adams at the TDC at the time, and their research had really showed the damage that was being done. People spending $5,000-$6,000 for a week in Crystal Beach, and there was, this is when this customary use crap that Walton County started all by itself had reared its
There's one individual
head.
That really started it, but we
won't name names. But so everybody became hyper alert to that, and it became an issue. Now we're talking 2018, 19.
Yeah,
so that's a long time ago.
Same thing here.
Here we are in 25, still battling with some of those issues. But I said, there's what we can do about it. She goes, we need beach access, and the state legislature just passed an amendment to the tax structure for tourist development councils that they could use tourist development money for infrastructure, roads, parking garages and stuff like that.
I'm well aware here in Walton how many beach accesses we've purchased with millions and millions of dollars.
So I just found a little 60-foot piece of property by the Crystal Beach access and talked with, I was friends with the person that owned that property. I said, dude, we got to do something. And they were older condos. I said, I know you had that up for sale back in 2008. And I said, would you revisit it now that, of course, the market had come back by 2008.
Yeah.
He goes, sure. And so I worked with the Tourist Development Council, the Okaloosa County Board of Commissioners, Florida Trust, who negotiates all the deals for buying land. And we bought the first piece of property right there and bought the adjacent piece of property soon thereafter. And so we bought, 90, almost 100 feet of beach access to add to the 60 we had. And then I said, well, we need more.
Yeah.
So then we worked with the county. We found a 300-foot section of beach, and that was right at the tail end of being mayor. And I said, we got to make this happen. Well, they changed. Crestview wanted to be have their own tax district. And so that was going to be very, very difficult because then like Destin was only going to get 12.5% instead of the larger percentage that it was getting. So I got with the county commissioners and Paul Coffey and all the different mayors, and we sat in a big room and I said, we're going to support you getting your new tax districts in this distribution, but I want y'all to agree that we can buy this $16 million piece of property over here, and everybody's cool with that. And that's what happened. So I think Destin's bought about almost $32 million worth of beachfront property. That 50 years from now will probably be worth a little bit more than $32 million.
Yeah, for sure.
In the generations to come. So that was just,
but it's access too.
And it was just common sense approach to think big, to how to change a dynamic that was damaging our community. And, I say this and makes my wife mad. I said, I'm just a dumbass fisherman. And she goes, no, you're much more than that. And it's not because I only went to junior college and didn't even get an AA. It's just, I always approach my fishing, my coaching, everything with a little bit of vision and try to apply a whole lot of common sense to it. And it's served me well.
Well, I will, I agree 100% with your wife. I think the world of her, but you're not just a dumb fisherman. And at the same time, you represent, just because I know you, and Destin's a little fishing village, right? But the driver for the whole county is that tourism. You do have some military industry in Okaloosa and some other things, not as dramatic as it is here as far as the tourism in Walton. But you also are trying to represent your constituents. And I wish more politicians would represent their constituents and do what they want to or represent themselves.
You got to have, of course, as part of being a captain, you got to have thick skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's part of being an advocate, because I knew
friggin' puppets.
One of the things I learned as an advocate, if you have an issue and you need things changed, you have to develop a good story. And when I say a good story for us in fisheries is that we fish sustainably, we care about the resource, we're accountable for what we do. That's a good story. And when you develop that good story, whatever your issue is, then you have to stick to it through thick or thin. And some days you're going to win the debate and some days you're not, because that story, especially when you're putting it on the public record, remember what I said?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be evidence in the court of law.
Come back up.
If your story doesn't change, your evidence doesn't change, and you can withstand third-party judicial peer review and win in the end. And so with that knowledge, everything I did, even as mayor, I always had that in my back pocket, and that way it gives you a little bit of boldness. If you know you're telling the story, that your integrity is intact, that you're truthful, and you're committed, you have passion for what you're trying to get done, then it kind of makes you a little bold.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be afraid of the people that will disagree with you, because I also said, I'm from Missouri. Show me. So if you got a different point of view, and maybe you are right, maybe my point of view isn't totally correct, with that attitude, it's easier to come off of your policy and your opinion if someone can show your errors of your ways. But the only way they can show you is if you're willing to accept what they have to say.
Yeah.
And you test it out in your mind, or if it's, mathematics or if it's law, I mean, you test it out. But that allowed me to be a fair person, because it wasn't my way in the highway like it was when I was a captain.
Yeah. Like you said, you matured though.
Yeah.
You know, everybody grows in their business and, you know, in life in general, as far as being a little more patient than you used to be.
It made me a better boss.
Yeah.
Too. Because,
sure.
you know, my dad can't come up and say, you know, I've tried that and that ain't working. Well, then I say, well, then what do we need to do? When we go marlin tournaments, I'll have a plan, a game plan. We're going to go here and do this. Halfway through the second day, we ain't had a bite. I'm calling everybody up in the bridge like, hey, fellas.
Team meeting.
What do y'all think? Well, and so that type of having that attitude to be, you know, believing in yourself and what you're doing, but also be willing to humble yourself a little bit and put yourself in a position to reach out and say, you know, why are you so mad at what I'm trying to do here? Tell me why. And if you can't come up with a good reason, I'm going to blow you off and I'm going to keep going. But if you got a good reason, I may change and turn a little bit to the right or turn a little bit to the left. And maybe we can come to some type of agreement and then you can be part of my team.
Yeah. You make a good point. And that's, we're so divided on, we basically call it party lines, whatever that is, today, that people just don't have any independent thought. And you know, I'm open to looking, and I'm biased. I'll admit it. You know, the other side, the left side, whatever, they will not, they're not open to listening to opinions. And when someone shifts from a constructive argument or a constructive conversation to attacking you personally, they don't have anything.
Mm-mm.
That's it. They're done. And that's all I hear all the freaking time. And it's just the noise. It's like, I just don't, I start to tune it out. I just don't even listen anymore. So you did one term, right?
Yep.
4 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's another story. Parker Destin was on there, and we had low turnouts on the municipal election days, and March 13th or some deal like that. He goes, "Man, we got to get more people to vote. So let's start voting on the first Tuesday in November. Every 2 years, like the national elections."
Okay.
Well, that meant instead of getting out of being a mayor at March 13th,
you got another 6 months tacked onto your term.
Yeah, and being mayor, I didn't get to vote.
You can't vote.
I can't vote. So
why? Vote. You're talking about at the council level. I thought you meant you can't vote for yourself.
And the dang thing about it is Parker was going to get off the council the next election, wasn't going to rerun. Sorry, dude. So he only had to serve his regular time. So he was.
Did it make a difference?
I think it did. More
better turnout.
Yeah, better.
That's typical.
That's right.
Especially the president.
Right now, I'm putting my advocate hat back on. I'm going to get back involved with the city. It's time for us to review our city charter, and I'd like to see us have a smaller city council. 7's too many, especially for a city of only 14,000. And
is it that many?
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that big.
Dude, you can't even get 3 people to agree on something, let alone 7.
No, I meant
why
the number of total.
Slow?
Well,
that's why.
I meant the 14,000. I didn't think Destin had that many. Is it? You have 14,000 voters now?
14,000 people in the community.
That's not who votes. Because the voter turnout was like 3 to 5, right?
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
How do you think Bobby's done?
I think he's done great.
He went a little different direction. You had not to age anybody, but Bobby was like 26 or something when he got elected.
Yeah, well, the other guy that was running would have been disastrous for our community because I don't like Nancy naysayers or people with no vision. Bobby is neither one of those.
Good. I love that.
He's proactive. He's the only guy I saw that on the council in my 4.5 years, 4 years, 7 months, 23 days to be exact. That
not to get to the details, Gary.
He went to all the city, Florida city government seminars, and I mean, he totally immersed himself into being a city council person.
Yeah.
And I encouraged him to run for mayor because he had vision, and that's what Destin needs. You cannot put the rabbit back in the hat. That's why I don't like Nancy naysayers or telling me the candy bars used to be a quarter. They're never going to be a quarter again.
Yeah.
So my whole philosophy, and I did this as mayor with the beach buyback and stuff like that. Hey, you're not going to put the rabbit back in the hat. So let's put a tuxedo on the rabbit. and so we're underground in 98, even though I haven't been mayor since 2022. The undergrounding has started. The vision when you come over Destin Bridge going east or coming out of Walton County going west, the view corridor from Airport Road all the way to the bridge is going to be beautiful and awesome with no overheads. And it's those kind of subtle changes that you make that can change the entire community's thought process of what Destin and what they think Destin ought to be. So right now it's in Bobby's doing it. I mean, that's why what I love about him is he's tried to put a tuxedo on a rabbit, and that's what our community needs. Walton County took some of that into account 15, 20 years ago. I think they've kind of lost their way here recently. They really screwed up by not making another 4-lane between 98 and 38, but that's water under the bridge. And it's those kind of things happen because of lack of vision. So I'm excited for the direction that Destin's heading in now. And maybe some old guys like me can add a little input or to facilitate or encourage the younger folks that are involved in city government to get involved and make a difference in their community. I mean, Pam and I did that when we were younger because we were kids. We coached Little League, president of Little League, president of playground area soccer.
I love seeing those younger guys, younger guys and gals getting involved. I was impressed. Bobby Sharp, I worked with him before he was involved in all that on our business side. So one more, I don't know if this is really political, but you mentioned the pontoons. Is there any way to control that?
Well, the sign at the bridge says, "Welcome to Destin, the luckiest fishing village in the world." So when I ran for mayor, I wanted to make sure that stayed that way. A couple years prior, our harbor board had put a temporary moratorium on any more pontoon boats being in the harbor. That was my pet project to make it a ordinance. It's almost an ordinance now. We've had
there's a limited number of in the Destin license per boat.
That's right. There's a limited access privilege program. Even the guys that are in that business pulled me off. At first they were against it. Pulled me off the side and said, "You know what? This is going to make my business more valuable." I said, "That's right." Just like it did.
That's true, but it's not stopping.
But what happens is it pushed all the new entrepreneurs over to Walton Beach and Niceville. Guess what they're doing over there? Put moratorium on the pontoon boats.
Dude, they're dumping them in at Cessna Landing.
That's correct. Unless the
where we're at,
unless people step up to the plate and follow Destin's footprint that our harbor board started and I worked extremely hard to make permanent. That's the case. And so,
I don't think it'll happen over here until that ramp, because it's really the only one, big enough parking lot, etc., gets so filled up, and it's not that big.
Well, the little guys that charter out of there and the private individuals that try to launch their boats there until they get up there, until they get in front of the county commissioners and say, dude, this is wrong. You got commercial operations. Now, in Destin, we also stopped these guys from launching at the Joe's Bayou boat ramp. So it was more, not just the moratorium. We prevented them from setting up shop in our little bayous and outside the harbor. We declared those waterways part of our city.
I like it.
We did that officially.
I look at it from the dangerous part of things.
Well, being a boater like yourself and me being a pro, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's
all the chaos and stuff is.
It's not us that's necessarily going to get hurt, but could be involved in it. It's the people that just do not know what they're doing. And I think until the pontoon owners have some liability there, I just don't think it's going to change. Well, but I don't know how you could. It's tough.
They're doing their best. The guys that own the pontoon operators are trying to be safer and hold their people more accountable. But humans.
Oh, no.
Humans are humans.
Sure, I can drive a boat.
It's a tough deal. And, but, all things in moderation.
Yep.
You don't want too many charter boats. You don't want too many commercial fishermen. You don't want too many pontoon boats.
Yeah.
There's got to be just a level of moderation in all things. I mean, wine, beer, moderation is important. Food, and so that's going to be the hard part. Like I said, Fort Walton Beach putting a moratorium on the operators right now. I think nice.
I think that's good.
Yeah, because they just keep moving.
Well, yeah, they're going to move to anywhere.
Go to Shalimar next.
Crab Island's still kind of centrally located, so they can cut across.
Yep.
All right, so you saying you're retiring, which I'll believe that when I see it. What's next for Gary?
I don't know. I think I sat in a tree 40 days this year already up in Kentucky.
Already?
In our hunting lease. Yeah, well, I knew I was getting my knee operated and I was going to miss the Alabama hunting season.
Okay.
So we stayed up. Me and Pam stayed up from the 19th October until day before yesterday. I think we were up there. We were up there a lot.
Any good kills?
She did, of course.
Yeah, well, she's a killer.
She's killed all the big deer the last 4 or 5 years. She doesn't get on her phone. She actually looks in the woods.
Yeah. You quit looking on TikTok, Gary, and pay attention to what's going on.
I don't do TikTok, thankfully. Instagram's bad enough. But I don't know. Part of me, this is to retire. The hardest part wasn't not working because I'm busy, I don't sit still. The hardest part for me, and it took me, I didn't realize it, or I didn't admit it until about a year ago, was my whole life I've been Captain Gary Jarvis. Guys down on dock call me Captain Mayor, of course, because I did do my little stint.
I introduced you as Captain Gary Jarvis. That's how I've known you for 30 years.
But that's all. That's my identity as a man.
Yeah.
And when I sold my boat, I was still Captain Gary because I had boat owner assistant training and it's on my cards and all that. And for me to truly retire and walk away, I kind of was subconsciously worried about losing my self-identity of who I am. Now that when I turned 69 this past August, I realized, you know what? I really don't care who knows who I am or my history, even though it's well documented.
Yeah. But
but I see that now that I recognize that. I see that in my friends that are in the same age or other people I know that tried to retire and did it. But it's really, really hard to walk away from your own identity if you don't find a new one. And that's what I'm working on now.
Well, why would you, and it's, you bring up a great point. I can see that, people go through that and life changes and career changes and got to figure out your motivation. Because I think a lot of people do retire and they don't have any ultimate goal to get up in the morning, and it's just like, what do I do? At least, you and Pam, I know, have a passion together of hunting and going out in the woods. And, but you can still be Captain Gary Jarvis and be advocating for the city of Destin and the fishing fleet. And you said you're looking to do that. That's just a different role. You're not driving the boat anymore, Gary,
right.
But you can still be the Captain Gary because people know that name.
But I could do that in retirement and not as a job. And so that's probably what I'm going to do. I can't totally get out of the limelight.
That's why I jokingly said, I'll believe it when I see it, that you're totally retired. But to me, retirement is sitting on, either just traveling all the time with your significant other, your bride.
We've done a little of that for the first time ever. And that was fun.
Amazing.
But the hardest part is really walking away, doing some traveling, go somewhere where people don't know who you are and fading off into sunset. Now I always have stuff to do, but it was just, I'm just telling you, I struggled with that. That's why I wouldn't.
I appreciate the honesty.
And I'm at the point now, I'm getting a new knee Thursday and I've got the aches and pains of a guy that played ice hockey and wrestled and just did a hard physical job for 45 years. Being a fisherman is hard on your whole body. It's why I've had 9 surgeries on my body since my mid 40s.
Well, let's get that bionic knee in there and see what you can do.
And so there is a point of me, I just don't want to get on a boat and go fishing anymore. Fishing's harder. The technology's kind of ruined the fun and that kind of stuff. So you thought it would have been easy to stop that. and go do something else.
Yeah.
But the identity issue, the Captain Gary issue was what held me back the most, but I'm finally over myself.
Okay. Well,
I am going to retire.
I tell you what, I look forward to seeing what Gary Jarvis. Come on, let's go. We come over here. We come to hang out with a podcast, but I want to see what Gary Jarvis does in the next 5 years, because I don't see you sitting at home.
George, let me tell you one thing. If I would have taken my effort and my focus and put it in a different career path, use my brain instead of my body more, I'd probably be a lot more financially secure than I am now, even though we're okay.
Yeah.
But man, I don't regret for a minute what I did.
Why? You're amazing. You have three amazing boys, and I know my dad thinks the same thing, but you've got three great boys that now have, two of them have very successful businesses that I know you guys are part of. Oh, yeah. And well, I don't know much about Tyler. I just know the restaurants are doing great, yes. And there's been struggles like we all have in business. Yeah. But you've raised three entrepreneurs. They give back to the community.
Yeah, they're great citizens. That's all I cared about. Yeah. Not so much.
No, those guys success. Are at every freaking event all the freaking time. Yeah. They support the wine auction. I see them, serving food at these charity events. So, hey, if anything, you got them, and I'm not sure they want you out there helping serve food, but you can still go visit.
Every time I make a recommendation for a menu, because we're partners, financially involved in the restaurants. Every now and then when they hand me a check, I'm financially involved, but those are far and few between. But every time I try to make a recommendation, like, hey, that gumbo needs a little more kick to it, or anything like that, they'd be like, Dad, I heard amberjacks are biting out on this Southwest edge. I got to try that tomorrow. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Get back in my lane. Yeah. I'm good. Sorry I stepped outside my path of expertise. But yeah, all three of my boys are, and I attribute it more to their mom than me, because some of my character traits back in early days were not probably exemplary for your children to watch. But,
I don't agree wholeheartedly with that.
Their character and their kindness truly comes from Pam, and their ability to grind it out and work hard and be fair. I think I rubbed off on them a little bit.
It is a team effort, as you know, and your boys are doing. I'm doing it right now with my girls. I also can somewhat agree with you with Pam in that the fact she was married to you, she put up with me and my father for 22 years. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. You trained her up real good, sir.
I raised her tolerance level.
I have one last question of a story. How did the back down roll get its name?
All right. Back in the day, Harbor Docks was really the only sushi place in all of Destin for years and years and years. And, we were doing the Little League thing, and Chris Wilson and his wife, and Peter Wright, we all went to Harbor Docks all the time.
It was one of the only things down there.
Yeah.
I mean, not the only thing down there, but in that wheelhouse.
In that wheelhouse and have sushi. Well, Chris and his wife own the zoo gallery, arts, artsy.
Yeah.
and of course they were there all the time. Well, I guess just through sheer volume, they developed a roll, and it's still on the menu, the zoo roll. Uh-huh. And it was named after basically
the zoo
field tested by Chris and approved. And, that became the on the menu. And I was sitting there one night, and Yoshi's just rolling, and I said, what's a fella got to do to get on the menu around here, She goes, you got to bring me a T-shirt. I'm like, get a back down roll? Shoot, no problem. So I show up there, and she had a couple guys in there. I gave them 2 T-shirts and her a T-shirt. She looked at it. She goes, oh, that's very nice. She goes, but everybody gets a T-shirt. I'm talking about bussers, the dishwashers.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and pull out about 15, 16 shirts.
Did you design the roll?
No, Corey did. I think he's up at Chuck's Fish House. He's been working for him for 25 years.
Okay.
Corey actually did it, and it's got the
you ordered it?
crab, and he made them. He was making them for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and what do y'all think? I said, I love this one, and so that roll. It had no name.
Yeah, that became the back down.
Yeah, it became the back down roll. And then, of course, when we got in the restaurant business and, Jack Kuda's our sushi concept, it's called the back down 2 roll.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's basically the same thing. Spicy lobster, artificial crab.
It's a good roll.
Sauce. It's awesome.
We get it every time we go.
It's big.
Yeah.
So
Filling.
that's where the back down roll came. It's still on Tarbor Doc's menu, the back down 2 roll.
Love it.
At Jack and Kuda's, and that's where it came.
Well, Gary, thank you, brother. Appreciate all you've done and do for this community and our fishing fleet. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate you coming on. Enjoy talking to you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys.
Putting up with me. Bye.